Insomnia treatment is not like baking a cake. So what on earth do I mean by that? Well, when you bake a cake, what do? You measure out your ingredients. You get the measuring scales and measure everything out perfectly. You put everything in at the right order. You set your oven to the right temperature. You put it in for the right time. As long as you do everything perfectly, you're going to get consistent results every single time. So when you buy a cake from a shop, McVitie's whatever bar, custard bar or whatever, it will be uniform every single time because they do not change the recipe, they do not change anything along the process. And so that is how cakes are made, but people are not cakes. I mean, there are some similarities where, you know, we're proper lush and delicious. Well, some of us are anyway. I know I am, but you know, and you are too because you're viewers of this channel. But there are some similarities, but we're not cakes, we're not robots, we're not marionettes, and you can't expect that just because you follow everything perfectly, you're always going to get the same results. So it's something I often have when I'm working with clients. They're like, well, last week I did all the right things and I slept well. This week I did all the right things and I had a really bad week this week. What on earth is going on? Because I'm still doing the bedtime restriction, I'm still doing the counter or stimulus control, I'm doing all the written exercises that you recommend, I'm getting stuck into my days, I'm getting light first thing, and yet the results were just not how I want them to be, or I'm not making the progress that I would like them to be. But as I always say, there's literally thousands of things that can and will affect your sleep, and it is literally impossible to control all of them. Your thought patterns, they're going to change throughout different times of the day. Your hormones are going to change. There's so many variables that affect us as human beings. There's things outside of our control which, you know, by their nature we cannot control, which may causing us stress and anxiety. So the playing field is never level when you are dealing with insomnia like it is when you're baking a cake. You cannot simply control all variables. And a great analogy that I like to use when helping people to understand this, imagine that you've got a really good pool player, and that pool player rocks up to his pool table and everything's as it should be. You know, the pool table is completely level and flat, the balls are perfectly polished, the lighting's perfect, his cue's chalked up, it's exactly how he wants it to be, and so he plays a perfect game of pool just as always, and he really comes away really happy having played really well. Now that pool player rocks up to his pool table and half the light bulbs are broken, so it's really dark. The pool table, someone knocked it, so it's now at a really weird angle. There's loads of crisps and nonsense all over the pool table. It's really cold because the heating's broken in there, so he's got to wear gloves and an overcoat just to play a game of pool. He's also feeling a little bit ill as well because he had a really dodgy curry the night before, a bit hungover because he had a few beers, whatever. And then he walks away from that pool table having had a really dreadful game of pool, and he just starts thinking, well, what's wrong with me? What on earth is going on? Last week when I played pool, I was absolutely fantastic, but now all of a sudden I think I've lost it. What is going on? And obviously if he said that to you, you say, well, yeah, but the variables are not the same. Last week everything was as you would have liked it. This week it was an absolute shower of, well, I'm not going to say that, but it was a shower of nonsenseness. So yeah, the variables are not the same, so obviously you're not going to play as well now. And that's so important because people are always comparing when they're going through treatment how they were last week, but they always seem to forget about the fact that life is not this linear thing that you've got full and complete control over. So of course you can't expect that with your sleep either. And it's something that I always say as well, you take change in any habit and behavior, progress is never linear. It's not linear when you're trying to lose weight. It's not linear when you try and build muscle. It's never a linear progress. And so if it's true in all these other aspects of life when it comes to habit building and behavior changing and thought pattern changing, why would you expect it to be the same when it comes to insomnia as well? So there's a great quote that I like by one of my favorite bubbly Buddhists called Ajahn Brahm. An amazing guy, he tells toilet jokes, he's a pretty funny monk. So do check him out, he's on YouTube, he's awesome. And the quote he says is, suffering is asking from the world what it can never give you. And so if you are asking from the world that everything in your life is going to be controlled, every variable is going to be the same, every variable is going to be consistent, but your progress through insomnia treatment is going to be this linear, step by step, it's going to get better every single week. Essentially, that is suffering, because the world cannot and will not ever give you that. So think about that when you're going through your insomnia treatment, because it's such a hard thing when I'm working with people, when I see them doing really well and they have a little bit of a wobble, have a little bit of a setback, and instead of focusing on all the amazing sleep that they've had in the past, suddenly they fall back down the pit, and all the anxiety, stress and worry instantly comes back, and they kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater, you know. They stop thinking about all the amazing successes they've been having, and instead they've got the blinkers on, and they can only see the fact that the last 2 nights haven't gone as well as they would have liked. And it's so important to try and get out of that mindset. It's so important to be able to accept the occasional poor night of sleep. And it's so important to, when you get a poor night of sleep, think about that analogy that I had with the pool table and said, well, you know, are the variables the same as they were last week? If they're not, then why am I getting so obsessed, so worried, so stressed about the fact that I am sleeping poorly? Because I was playing on a pool table where there's crisps on it and it was at an angle. So it doesn't make sense to get so obsessed and so anxious. All I need to do is keep going, and I know I'm going to get there in the end. All right, really, as always, hope this video has been helpful to you. Sleepze.com, want to work with me one-to-one, please do that. I've got a free sleep program on there. Of course, my books are out, they're awesome. And yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.